Today on Outlaw Woodworking, I'll be demonstrating the Porter Cable Dovetail Jig, and I will show you how to make a dovetail drawer using this piece of poplar. Let's get started. After cutting all your pieces, I mark all the corners. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And this right here is probably one of the more important pieces. You're basically setting these two pieces up there for your thickness of your material, and you got to make sure that those two pieces are the same thickness as your drawer material. That's critical. Now up here on the shelf, I'm going to grab the 4216 template or guide, and I have the bits on top of it all ready to go. And basically I'm going to do large dovetails, so this one does 3/4 inch dovetails, and probably one of the more important things is your thickness of your material. So make sure that you got the backer board, the first thing I put on, the same thickness. Now right here I'm putting my drawer front in there, but if you notice, it's not lined up, so it's sticking out one side or the other of these guides, and you want even distance between those guides. And right here you can see there's an Allen head, and here's the Allen head wrench. Loosen this up and put it all the way to the left to the beginning, and set that all the way to the left, and then take your material and center it on those guides, so that you have equal distance between between the template. And you kind of got to just fiddle around with it a little bit and make sure that the spacing is even. I think that's probably one of the more critical things of this dovetail jig, is to make sure that your unit is that your material is centered on the template. That your bottom and top of the drawer is going to have equal distance. So like right there, it's way off. So I want to adjust that. And if you look straight down, you can see I'm too far to the left. So if I loosen that up and I move it over to the right, and I keep about, in this particular case, I don't know, 3/16 on each side to center it up in that spacing. I kind of eyeballed it, but you can use those little tiny micro measures. But basically this ended up like an 1/8 or 3/16 on each side, and it was centered pretty good. Now right here is real important too. See that line? It was really pretty far off. And if you look right here, I'm adjusting these brass knobs on the right and left. That pulls that line in or out, and you want that line to be centered of your board. In other words, between your backer board and the board that you're going to cut, you want that to be dead center. Now if you look, I'll put the camera back over there after I do this little adjustment, and you'll see that it's dead center. And that's super important. And another thing that can do, by adjusting these brass knobs in or out, now you see how straight that is along there where my thumb is? It's right along between the backer board and your board, and that's what you want. And another thing you can do with that brass knob is you can adjust that in or out to make it tighter or looser. Now here, these are through dovetails, so right here I'm showing you that that's the dovetail bit, and it shows you right on the side of the unit, which is really nice. So I'm using a DeWalt router right here, and it is unplugged. You never want to mess with your router plugged in. Believe me, I've accidentally had it turn on, not this one, but other ones. And then you want to grab your template guide, and it tells you what number you need. You grab that, you put that on, and I don't think you can see that number, but it tells you all the numbers that you need for that template guide. And basically you know, I struggled with this in the beginning. I'll be honest with you, as far as figuring all this out. But once you get used to it, you realize how simple this jig is. Now, this see that first one? That first one is a half tail. So if you set your router up on that front one, your depth will be wrong. So the back one is through dovetails, and you basically run your router blade down to that stop, and then set it, and then just start cutting your dovetails. And if you've set up everything the way I just showed you, that will come out really nice. Um, there is a learning curve for sure. I mean, I struggled, I guess, for probably a day and a half of messing around, doing things wrong. Now, dovetails, you can flip them straight over like that, and actually that's a good way to do it, is to flip them just end to end, because then if let's say one's off a 16th of an inch or something, that they'll all be the same, and you'll be sanding or planing or running it through your joiner. You just run them all through at the same thickness, and they work out fine. Um, Now the pins are a different story. You can't rotate the pins like that. You have to rotate the pins on the same side. So, but the dovetails, yeah, you can flop like that. Now I go pretty easy on these. I'm trying to run them pretty slow. I um, I always let the router stop all the way before pulling it off. Now this is the second. So I'm doing front and back dovetails right now. This is the second one. You'll notice I set it on there, and I start off nice and slow, and I just run the same routine. Just run it through there. These things make a lot of dust. I mean, if someone comes up with an invention for dust collection for a router jig, that would be a pretty good deal. So you see how I just flop that over, put it right up through. And you can, if you're doing a whole bunch of the same size drawers, you can, motor through and get a lot done. Um, yeah, wear a mask. Wear ear protection and a mask are probably the number one. I wear eye protection too, and but the mask, I mean, you just can't be breathing that much dust all the time. Okay, now we've cut our two front and back dovetails. So now we carefully pull this out, and I loosen up the knobs quite a bit when I pull this out, and then I set it back in nice and easy. Now you're not messing with your backer boards, you're not messing with anything, and you tighten your two knobs down nice and tight. Now everything, if you look at it, it should be perfectly lined up just the way it was. And you won't have to do anything. You just basically, you go over here to the guide, you go down to the pins, and it'll tell you the number of the straight bit that you're going to have to put in. And there's this one, 437. I wasn't quick enough to see that number, but and then you put in the same guide, and you're doing the same routine. I always unplug it, change the bit, put the straight bit in, put the guide in, and then you can cut your pins. And it's a pretty, the hardest thing I think, after complete you know failure. I failed quite a few times learning how to do this. Probably the hardest thing is to make sure your thickness of your material is the same that you're putting in for your backer board, and also that when you're setting up your dovetail in the jig, center it. I mean, really take your time to center it as good as you can. Now, right here, your depth is the same as the dovetails. You're gonna set it in that stop and adjust the depth of your straight bit the same way. And then once you get that set, you have your board all, and you don't mess with anything. You put it against the same stop. Don't try to center it, anything. it's lined up with the previous dovetails. So you just turn it on and go, and just just motor through, take your time, and yeah, get those pins done. It's pretty easy once you get used to it. I think in the beginning, anybody that tries one of these out, they're gonna mess up a lot of wood. But once you practice a few times, you'll you'll motor through, and you won't even think about it. Like you know, if you got a client or something and you need 20 dovetail drawers, you'll come over here and just motor through these, and yeah, make some money or whatever you're doing. Um, but yeah, I was really happy with this jig. It it did a really nice job. And just, just be safe, wear all your safety gear, always shut it off, always unplug it when you're changing. And look at these joints come out really nice. And there you go. 2 dovetails and 2 pins. Let's see how they go together. Let's see. Oh. So this should go like that. And oops. Let's put this there. And there you go, 1 dovetail drawer. And now you just put, you can either dado in a sliding bottom, or you could just put a 1/2 inch piece of plywood, glue it down to the bottom. Depends on what you're using it for. But once this is all glued up and a bottom's on it, it'll be a really nice solid drawer. Anyway, thanks for watching Outlaw Woodworking, and we hope you enjoyed this tutorial of the Porter Cable Dovetail Jig. And if you've never made dovetails before, that is sure an easy way to do it. Anyway, later. So full disclosure, this Porter Cable Dovetail Jig, or any dovetail jig, is super messy. And that's why you need to wear a mask and eye protection. It shoots out a lot of dust from the router, and it has nowhere to go. I mean, you have no dust collection on this jig. I might in the future try to figure out a way to put some dust collection, but currently it's pretty tough, and so right now there's no dust collection. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm just going to clean up my mess. And I'm lucky enough to have a Dust Right vacuum system, which I've been super happy with. And this little rack, I made this rack for the jig, and I'm super happy with it, because what I do is I keep the size bit for each template. I just leave it up there on the template, and I think that worked out. Actually, it'll make me use it a lot more. I mean, everything's handy and it's right there, and the way I clamp that to my T-track on my chop saw bench, it makes it easy to deal with. And when I'm chop sawing long stuff, I just take that thing and slide it out of the way. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna clean this mess up, and you have a good day.